Listen to this. That's the sound of Superpower Steam. A design tweak gave steam locomotives one last shot at survival, just as diesel was taking over. It boosted firepower. It cranked up speed. And for a little while, it worked. This is the story of steam's final stand. By the mid-20th century, steam locomotives were on their way out. Diesels were faster to start, easier to maintain, and more efficient overall. Steam locomotives require an enormous amount of maintenance. Most railroads were done with the old tech. So was this the end of steam? Instead of giving up on it, some carriers decided to go all in. They supercharged it. But not all of them. Most railroads converted to diesel as quickly as possible. But at least 2 railroads held out. They didn't just keep steam around, they doubled down. So which railroads did this? One of them? The Norfolk and Western. But why? The N&W had deep ties to the coal industry. Coal wasn't just fuel, it was one of their biggest customers. So while other railroads were switching to diesel, the N&W made a strategic choice. Keep building new, cutting-edge coal-fired steam engines, like the iconic J-Class, a 484 Northern type. This wasn't nostalgia, it was economics. By keeping steam alive, the N&W kept their coal customers happy, and for a while, this worked. They created some of the most advanced steam locomotives ever built, all at the very end of the steam era. But was the Norfolk and Western alone on this? There was another famous railroad that kept steam alive longer than most. The Nickel Plate Road. Officially the New York, Chicago, and St. Louis Railroad. It was built fast, across 3 states to compete directly with the powerful Lakeshore and Michigan Southern Railway, which just so happened to be owned by Cornelius Vanderbilt. It later became part of the New York Central. The name Nickel Plate wasn't official. It was a nickname. It was said that trains ran so often and constantly polished the tops of the railheads. This made them shine so much that they might as well have been plated in nickel. And the nickname stuck. But this line wasn't just flash. By the early 20th century, it was known for one thing: speed. And in the 1940s and 50s, the Nickel Plate ran some of the most advanced steam locomotives ever built, the Berkshire Class 284s. They were fast, powerful, and honestly, iconic. But for a time, it was one of the boldest, fastest railroads in the country, born out of rivalry, run on speed, and remembered for steam. But why did they keep steam around for so long? Their reason for holding on wasn't to appease the coal industry like with the Norfolk and Western. They made a bet on new steam technology, believing that it would be more successful than the nascent diesel locomotives. Lima Locomotive Works called it Superpower Steam! That was a bit dramatic. But it wasn't just a name. It was the last great reinvention of steam technology before new modern motive power came in and changed everything. At the center of it, an engineer named William Woodard, who asked, what if we could push steam just a little further? So how did they do it? They doubled the firebox size, added a second axle to support it, supercharged the boiler, and created engines that could go faster, pull harder, and steam longer than anything before them. But here's the twist. Just as these superpowered steam engines were hitting their peak, diesel locomotives were quietly waiting in the wings. More efficient, easier to maintain, and ready to take over. But what if I told you this wasn't the end of the story? Not even close. I got to experience one of these superpowered steam locos that's still pounding the rails. The Nickel Plate Road 765. A 400-ton, 70-mile-an-hour, steam-powered, finely tuned machine. Built in 1944 during the final golden years of steam, the 765 was one of 80 high-powered Berkshire-type locomotives ordered by the Nickel Plate Road. It wasn't just powerful. It was dependable, and crews loved it. It hauled everything: freight, passengers, wartime supplies, until steam engines were phased out in the 1950s. But in 1958, something happened. A diesel-led passenger train was stranded in Fort Wayne, Indiana during winter weather. So the 765 was fired up one last time to rescue the train. It became the last steam locomotive of its kind to run for the Nickel Plate Road. That could have been the end of the 765, but it wasn't. In 1963, it was donated to the city of Fort Wayne and put on display in a place called Lawton Park. It became a centerpiece of downtown, but by the 70s, after years of sitting out in the elements, it was falling apart, until a group of volunteers formed the Fort Wayne Railroad Historical Society. They didn't just preserve the engine, they brought it back to life. In 1979, after 21 silent years, this steam locomotive moved again, just 7 days before its 35th birthday. The team behind it? Not a company, just a group of volunteers. They became the first all-volunteer nonprofit in the world to restore and run a mainline steam engine. Restored to its 1940s glory, it stands not just as a piece of history, but as a reminder of what humans can build and what's worth keeping alive. And when I got my chance to ride behind the 765, I had the choice of riding in a climate-controlled, comfortable coach, a former N&W office car with first-class accommodations, and even a former Amtrak dining car, still decked out in all of its seafoam green finery. But I didn't choose any of these. I treated myself to a ride in Car 5735, the Lawton Park, named after the former home of the 765. Was it fit for a king? Not quite. More like fit for an elephant? The Lawton Park was last used as an elephant carrying car on the famous Barnum and Bailey circus train. It is open air, which means we got to truly experience the sights, sounds, and smells of steam railroading. Fitted out with parlor car seating, a bar, and even a cigar lounge. I thoroughly enjoyed my ride, being treated to an earful of live period music, a noseful of aromatic coal smoke, and unfortunately a few eyefuls of cinders, all well worth it. And steam fans with a fine-tuned ear might notice something else about the 765 on my visit. This isn't this engine's original whistle. It actually belongs to another steam giant, the New York Central Mohawk 3001, one of the most powerful steam engines ever built. Right now, the Fort Wayne Railroad Historical Society is working to bring this beast back to life. And on my trip, the 765 is borrowing the 3001's whistle as a sort of call for help. I thought it was a clever way to raise awareness and funding for a restoration that could make steam history run again. Want to be part of it? Click the link in the description to learn more about or support their mission. There are dozens of these amazing steam-powered machines still thundering down American rails that you can experience for yourself. Check out my adventure on another one of the last of these steam giants in this video. And please hit those like and subscribe buttons to keep this channel fired up and running full steam ahead. Thank you for watching Rail Weekly.